We are live. Here we go.
Previously on the Spielman and Hooley We Tackle Life podcast.
What, we fired from?
No, we.
No,
Well,
what do you call
I don't
that?
think we were fired. We were just. They flipped the format. They still pay. If they pay you after
Tomato,
you leave.
tomato.
Tomato, tomato. I don't know. Depending on how, I'm parsing the semantics of the whole situation. We weren't fired. We were flipped.
Oh, whatever makes you feel better.
You could say we were flipped off. We
Yes.
were flipped off the air. Yes.
Whatever makes you feel better.
Very
And,
good.
which
You're
is
all
fine.
warmed up today. You got your nice heavy coat on.
I know it's hot today too.
Well, it is
I never
nice
know.
out, except it's still like a little wet out there. Still a little
It's a
rainy.
golf day for Hooley.
Tomorrow would be the ideal golf day. The missus turned me down tomorrow.
Oh, she did?
She did, yeah. She turned me down.
She's tired of beating you.
Well, she's got business with flashes of fun. Somebody's
Well,
got to pay the bills around here.
Well, I was just thinking, I love to quote obscure movie references.
Yes, you do.
Yeah, so
White Line Fever. You got something for us?
I
with White
reject
Line
the
Fever?
challenge because there is no challenge.
Is that from? Don't tell me that's the one with Kathy Ireland.
No, that's
Spike doesn't play with
no,
girls.
No, that's Little Giants.
Little
Spike
Giants.
doesn't play. This is Mr. T in Rocky 3.
Oh, and Rocky 3.
I reject the challenge because he is no challenge.
Clubber Lang. That's
Clubber
right.
Lang, thank
very
you.
good, very good. I at least knew that part.
Yes.
All right, where are you headed this week? I forgot.
Nolens.
Oh, that's right. Oh, man.
And that's not your favorite city.
I was praying for so many people this morning, and I forgot to pray for you. I'm going to cover you
Tell
up with
people-
prayer going into that dark place.
Yeah, it is, but it also is. It's one of the most interesting places that I go to. There is a sense of evil in that city,
Yes,
and
there
it's
is.
because of whatever the voodoo practices or in the open prostitution, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it's a decadent place.
It is, but there's also a lot of light there with churches and beautiful churches that I've been to that are crowded. So, somebody asked me about it. I said it's kind of, to me, when I go there, it's like the epicenter of the battle of good and evil.
Yeah, I think you're right. I agree.
There's so
with that.
much culture and history down there, so it's hard not to like, but I can understand that the feeling of a dark feeling that you have when you walk through the city. And I don't know if anybody's been through it, but the other cool thing about New Orleans, I remember being down there and I asked somebody what's a good restaurant, and they said, "Is it open?" I said, "Yeah," and it's good. So whatever restaurants are open, are
Yeah,
usually
that's
pretty
true.
good because of the.
What is the mask situation? Do you get a scouting report on the
No,
mask situation?
I don't because I'm a hermit anyway. So what I've been doing is going to like a local grocery store down there and just grabbing stuff that.
So what kind of stuff do you grab? Like a bunch of protein bars, protein shakes?
bars, tomatoes, stuff that I don't really need.
What do you buy, a paring knife on the road because you
No,
can't carry one?
I just eat the whole
Well,
thing.
you just eat it like an apple?
Yeah, I do. Yep. And I'm a weird guy in some of those sense, and a lot of times.
Any meat? Buy lunch meat?
I have bought it if I knew that I have a refrigerator, and it depends
Yeah.
on if I go before I get checked into the room. If I know there's a little refrigerator, then I'll buy like turkey or something like that.
Yeah.
So just to have stuff throughout the day, and I try to maintain. Me,
You're very vigilant on your diet.
I am,
You really are.
More than I mean, I'm not like super strict, but I am very aware of what I eat and what I put in and all that stuff. And
Did that come about while Stephanie was fighting breast cancer and you guys researched the impact of diet? Is that some of that?
No, I mean, it's interesting. It's like anybody. Like when you're younger, you feel like you can eat anything.
Oh, sure
right?
you can.
And you can eat anything. And toward the end of my career, you're looking for an edge to hold on. That's just the way it is. And so I started getting more and more into diet. Unfortunately, we knew a little bit about diet back then, but it wasn't as emphasized as it is now. For example, you go to all these facilities now, team facilities, they have on-staff nutritionists, they have chefs in there, they have these beautiful cafeterias set up with healthy options. They tell you how much to eat, how much to take in. For example, with the Lions, I mean, we'd bring in lunch and eat in the visitors' locker room, and we'd have Popeye's chicken. You know, that's what we would, and red beans and rice. And so we just didn't have all the knowledge. But I started doing research and actually ran into a couple of bodybuilders. And if you ever run into a bodybuilder or you talk to them, they do know a little bit about what's good and what's not good. Then when Stephanie got sick, we started researching on diets and healthy, and became very vigilant in that. For example, one of the best food fighters of cancer are tomatoes. They can contain something called lycopene, and I think lycopene is one of the best things that can have. And so, you know, that's something that, and my wife Carrie now is very vigilant on diet. She used to be a personal trainer. She used to be a fitness competitor. She works out constantly, and you know, one of her favorite sayings is your body, your choice on what we choose to eat or not eat. But like when we go out to dinner, it's not like I deny myself. I used to, but not anymore. I just be sensible, and I don't eat to the point of I don't practice gluttony, in other words, when I eat. I eat it, I enjoy it, and like if there's a dessert, for example, the other night, my mother-in-law, Steph's mom, this is something really cool about how God has blessed me and my family. And this is a credit to my wife now, Carrie. She's embraced everything about Stephanie's family, and by God's grace also, Stephanie's family has embraced Carrie. I mean, there were little bumps in the road along the way, just people getting to know each other. But my mother-in-law, Stephanie's mom, turned 84. Carrie's mom and her twin sister turned 84 yesterday.
Oh, wow, that's cool.
So on Monday night, we took Stephanie's mom out to an Italian restaurant that I like here in town, Vittorio's. I don't know if you've ever eaten there. It's in Powell.
I have not.
It's really, I love it. I think they do a great job. Service is great, just wonderful. And and we spend every Monday night with her, which is
with Carrie's mom.
Yeah, no, with Stephanie's.
With Myra.
Yeah, with Myra. Yeah, you know Myra. Yeah,
very sweetheart. And a big sweetheart.
Myra. Yeah, and you know she has, as you know, we've talked, some health issues, but it's just and Carrie sets the example on that, because I think women have more of a antenna up. Like Carrie has to remind me to call my mom. Not that I don't want to talk to my mom, not that I don't love my mom. It's just that, you know, I'm not a big phone guy. I'm just not.
Yeah.
But anyway, so last night I went out with Myra's oldest daughter, Sue, and Bill, Dr. Bill at Orthopedic One. I went with Myra and them, and Carrie went up to Youngstown to take her mom and her twin sister out, and her dad. So I'm very fortunate. I was thinking about that today. There's a lot of, if we take time to listen to the older generation, because we are going to be that older generation one day. Yeah. And that kind of hit me this week. You know, one day I'm going to be, you know, hopefully, God willing, I celebrate. If it's God's will, I'll be celebrating a birthday in my 80s. And if you sit there and listen to them, even Myra, who has some memory issues, she'll have some genuine words of wisdom that come out. You know, the coolest tradition, and I encourage everybody to do this. Can I go into this?
Yeah, please do.
One of the coolest traditions we have as a family, and I'm not quite sure when this started, but whosever birthday it is, I think I've shared this with you before. Whosever birthday it is, everybody who's at the gathering will go around the table and say what they love and why they love the person whose birthday that they're celebrating. And that was such a cool thing to do, and to hear what people think of that person, and then while they're saying what they think of that person, in your mind you're going, oh, that's so true, or that's so true. And so and it's really cool, because for that person, they're not that they need to be, but sometimes it's nice to be validated.
Absolutely right.
You know?
Yeah.
And so, but I changed mine on my birthday, which was last week. What I did, because I had a bunch of the minions and the vultures over.
Boyfriends, also known as.
And this is for each kid. There's a song that every time I hear, I think of them. So I assigned them each a song, and I told them to download. And each minion or each vulture, I gave them a song because they've been around me long enough that there's a song that comes out. I'll share a couple of them. My oldest stepdaughter, who's a sweetheart of a girl, and I'm very fortunate in that regard too, as you know. When I first started coming around her mother, she was so protective of her mother. Like, and she would look at me and snarl at me. I think she was probably in maybe 5th or 6th grade when I started coming around. And there was this song by John Hyatt, and it's actually can be a faith-based song. That's a cool thing about it's a cool thing about songs. You can make them a faith-based song.
Yep.
And this song is called "Have a Little Faith in Me." And I don't know if you know who John Hyatt is.
I've heard the name,
or if you know that song. But it's really, the words are so cool, and I just wanted her to have a little faith in me. And when I said that to her, she just started smiling.
Yeah.
One of the boyfriends originally from Colorado, so John Denver, Colorado Rocky Mountain High. One, I'm not going to say the boys because one song is U2. I still haven't found what I'm looking for, because when I met this one, he was on a faith search and a journey.
Okay.
And when I met him, we were talking, and he just hasn't found what he was looking for, but I knew what he was looking for, and he's grown so much over the past year and a half, which is, as a dad, is one of the coolest things to see. Another one for the Vultures is that song by, I can't believe I forget his name right now, but it's called "I'm a Riser." Dirk Bentley. Dirk
Bentley.
Yeah, you know that song?
I don't.
And it's actually about a single mom raising a kid, but it's this kid always rises to any challenge. And the last Vulture song is, I think some of the Vultures listen to this, but the last Vulture song is "The Hustle" from the 70s, because this kid, when we were on vacation, his effort in all the what were supposed to be fun games turned out to be very competitive, but his effort in spike ball, his effort in softball, his effort who can drink the most water, to the point where he puked because he went.
That's commitment.
It's commitment. But for the prom for one of my younger daughters, I mean, he wore like a turtleneck with a gold chain, a velvet tuxedo. And it didn't care. I mean,
old school.
Yeah, and so he looks like it reminded me of somebody in the 70s, and so that's a tradition. I know. I think it's important that people know kind of how cool things that you and I
absolutely
do. But and they're all trying to find a song that that reminds them of me, and I'm interested to see.
Yeah, that'll be interesting.
What they come up with. I'm hoping for the. Who sang it? It wasn't Warren Zevon. It was "Bad to the Bone."
Bad to the Bone. That was George Thorogood.
Yes.
And the Delaware Destroyers.
That's me. So I did.
I don't know that applies. There was an era where it might have, but not now. Not now. We want to thank everybody who's watching us on Facebook this morning. We did start early. Mr. Spielman was. I expected you 6:45, and you got here at 6:30.
Yeah,
I was ready for you.
I'm gonna try to get here at 6:30 unless I have issues.
Okay. You rarely have issues. You get your workout in, and you're up and at 'em.
Yeah.
Get your Hemisphere coffee in.
I do get the Hemisphere coffee in.
Yeah.
And by the way, thank you to Hemisphere, as you picked up a couple boxes for me. Thank you for doing that.
Yeah, my pleasure. I always love going out there.
Yeah, and
we'd encourage anybody to go out to Mechanicsburg, to go and see their facility, and have them make a coffee for you. They'll beat any barista you know. They really know what they're doing. And in terms of making you, any lattes, or I don't know what they call it. Is that a frappuccino that's like a milkshake?
I don't know.
But boy, it's good. Yeah, their coffee's great. Start with good coffee, and you're way ahead of the game. Hemisphere Coffee Roasters.
Great people too.
Yeah, they are great people. Use the promo code We Tackle Life in all caps. You'll get 15% off. And remember Hemisphere for corporate gifts and things like that. We got a special deal coming up. It's not started yet at $98.9 the answer. Remember the discount deals we used to do at the Zone where you get a $50 gift card for $25? We're going to do one of those with Hemisphere coming up, so people will be able to get, I think it's a $30 gift card to Hemisphere for $15, and it's going to be just like a card number, so you're able to go online and do it, and you'll be able to get a fantastic coffee at half what it normally costs you. So hemispherecoffeeroasters.com. Order, check out all their coffee sourced from around the world. It's really good, and they are great people. So we appreciate that. All right, we got Battle of Ohio Take 2 this week.
Here we go.
Browns at Bengals. I think this one, Brownies better pay attention here. In this NFL, we've talked about this, week to week.
It is.
High and low. Browns were horrible Sunday. They'll probably be really good this week. Bengals were, good for a while in Indy. You saw them.
Yeah.
And they're, you said Monday, Bengal fans get frustrated hearing they're close, but they are. They've been close. They're 1-4-1. They were close in Cleveland the first time. They were close in Indy.
Could have won Philly.
Yeah, so I mean they're improving, but they just
got to get over the hump.
They struggle to get over that hurdle, and I don't know what triggers that in a team. Usually it's a transformative player, oftentimes a transformative quarterback. That's a lot to put on Joe Burrow, but he's been very good so far, but also he has things he has to do better.
Yeah, he's getting better. He's going to be really, really good. I mean, really good. I mean, he's, hopefully we did a little flashback of Kenny Anderson, and I think people forget how good Kenny Anderson was. He was a tremendous player, right?
Yes, he was.
And so I think Joe can reach that level, maybe higher. I did a show last night, Bruce Drennan's.
Yeah.
And we talked about the Bengals and Browns, and he asked me the same thing. The Bengals, look, they're better than they were. The Bengals can't afford to have crucial mistakes in crucial times. That's what really hurts them.
Yeah.
Because they're not good enough to overcome them.
They can't overcome the big mistakes.
It's not like, Joe Burrow's not Tom Brady yet. Joe Burrow's not Aaron Rodgers or Russell Wilson or Kyler, where they can cover up a lot of things, right? A lot of ugliness, they can cover it up. Joe's not there yet. And so any self-inflicted mistakes is something that they can't afford to have. And Randy Bullock, I don't want to put undue pressure on him, but he's got to be able, anytime they can get points, he's got to be able to hit one from 48. Now,
when you were
he
saying,
did hit one from 55.
I know, but when you were saying they can't overcome a mistake, the mistake that came to my mind, of course they're not going to be able to overcome the last interception. There's not time. But the 48-yard field goal was a big mistake in that game.
And that's something that, for them to take that next step, Bruce, they've almost got to be perfect in those areas. Yeah. And if not, I mean, they'll end up winning 4 or 5 games. And with Cleveland is much better than they were against Pittsburgh. I mean, I think I know good football teams when I see them, right? And I get that it wasn't Baker Mayfield didn't have his best game, probably his worst game of the year, but I expect him to bounce back, and I think he will. But talent-wise, it's not even close.
No.
I mean, the offensive line for Cleveland is one of the top offensive lines in the league, in my opinion. I do think as we progress into the season, I don't know how long Nick Chubb's going to be out, but
he's out this week.
1 week is too long because I just have such a high regard, and not that Kareem Hunt isn't a starter himself, but they're so much more dangerous with both of those guys healthy, and they keep attacking you with those guys.
Kareem Hunt as a fresh Kareem Hunt after Nick Chubb has worn you down is different than a Kareem Hunt at the start of a game.
Right. And the Stewart kid's a good third back, but he's not Nick Chubb or Kareem Hunt. They're not at your best.
Well, they have Dearness Johnson and Dontrell Hilliard. Yeah. And they rushed for almost nothing at Pittsburgh. Yeah. And, they had a great success on the ground against the Bengals the first time, but that was with Nick Chubb. Yeah. So that's what they want to get back to. I know that's how Stefanski wants to play.
And that was by far the Bengals' worst performances of the year. And they're better defensively, and you were telling me about some drama going on.
Yeah, according to Cincy Jungle and the Cincinnati Enquirer, Geno Atkins and Carlos Dunlap, 2 guys who've been stalwarts for the Bengals and make stalwart-type money, $20 million combined, are upset that they are being marginalized. Dunlap got 28 snaps against Indy Geno Atkins got 18. Now, I don't really know why Dunlap is frosted, because the guy who plays in his spot, Amani Bledsoe, had 29 snaps, so he's playing equal time with the other guy. He just clearly thinks he's a two-time Pro Bowler. He thinks he's better. Geno Atkins is the guy. He's an 8-time Pro Bowler. I didn't realize that.
Look, I love Geno Atkins. I think he's a great player.
Is he DUN?
I think he's at the end. Yeah, I do. And it's not anything that he can do.
He was missed the first 4 games.
Been injured.
Then he's played 30% of the snaps since then. Is it a rounding into shape thing, or you can only get so much out of it?
That's what Zach Taylor said, and because I asked him specifically about that. And look, Geno, you're playing inside for what is this, his 10th or 11th year?
Yeah, something like this. Yeah.
And he's done so well. He's had a great career, but he thinks he's healthy. The coaching staff doesn't think he's healthy. I'll be interested to see how many snaps he gets this week. Mm-hmm. But we know in the NFL that everybody wants to get that constant rotation, and I'm sure Geno probably wants to be around 35 to 40 snaps a game. And it's just, like all these guys, the Bengals are kind of on a youth movement. I think their roster average is 25 or 26 years of age, and I get it. I get why they're upset. If I were them, I would be extremely upset. I don't blame guys for being ticked off if they're not playing, especially if you're an 8-time Pro Bowler. And so,
do guys know when they're declining?
I think deep down, if they're honest, but then there's liars that happen. And what I mean by liars is you'll make this great play that you made, but you just don't make that great play.
You used to make it routinely.
Yeah. And so I think guys know. I think Geno is very serviceable. I think Carlos is very serviceable. I don't think they're worth $20 million, though, to be honest with you. I just don't. And it's
Dunlap is making 11.25 through 2021. Atkins is making 9.6 through 2022.
Yeah, I don't think they'll be there.
The market for them at the trade deadline, I think, would be minimal, unless you want to trade them just to get rid of them because they're unhappy and you don't like the influence.
You can't trade Geno Atkins because you already have 4 guys that are on injured reserve. They lost Mike Daniels, which was a good pickup for them. They lost Reader, which was a big, huge pickup for them. They're bringing Xavier Williams. They signed him off the Patriots practice squad, and he's playing.
They got Margus Hunt. They got Margus Hunt back yesterday.
Yeah, so
Margus Hunt, who had a nice run in Indy after being drafted in the 2nd round by the Bengals. He was never in Cincinnati, what I thought he'd be.
Yeah.
He goes to New Orleans. They release him. The Bengals signed him yesterday. I think they've signed like 4 defensive linemen in the
They have to. Yeah. So, and I understand those guys' frustration, but you know what? If you're not producing, that's what happens.
Well, if you're producing the same as a young guy, they're going to play the young guy.
Yeah. Why wouldn't you?
Yeah. And they're probably both those guys will be gone next year. The Bengals can get rid of them by June the 1st and save a bunch of money.
AJ Green will be gone by next year.
Think so?
Oh yeah, I think they're moving.
You think they might move him at the deadline?
I would.
If he has another couple good games, did you get a 4 for him? If he has another couple games like he had in Indy?
10 years in the league, no. I don't think he creates separation.
Yeah, I didn't see much of it.
I think, and his price tag's too high.
Yeah.
So they've had great careers.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
All 3 of those guys.
No doubt. They were great picks and all that.
It's nothing personal. It's just, man, hey, I tried to fight it too.
Yeah.
It's undefeated. I'm telling you, you ain't gonna win.
Nominate somebody for COVID-19 relief. Email their name and a little bit about their story to us at SpielmanHooleyPodcast@gmail.com. We'll draw 4 names on Friday. $250 to each of the winners. On our way to giving away $40,000. We'll hit that after the first of the year. Thanks to Spielman CBD products at CBD Health Collections. Thanks to Volunteer Energy, Byers Dublin Mazda Subaru, the Detroit Lions, others, and your own call upon your heart to do that. So great thing. Nominate somebody. I know you all know somebody, so just shoot us a quick email about them. We'll get to the Buckeyes in Nebraska in a moment. I wanted to ask you what you think. This is a weird year in Ohio high school football. Everybody makes the playoffs that wanted to. They are going to allow, they still don't know where they're going to play the state championship games. They were going to play them at Tom Benson Stadium at the Pro Football Hall of Fame. But with limited attendance and the rental fee, it doesn't make sense financially. And the OHSAA is in financial straits because they had to cancel their state basketball tournament last year, which is normally their big moneymaker. So they're going to allow the top-seeded team, the higher-seeded team in each regional, to host its regional championship game. They say they'd like for them to be at neutral sites. So, like, let's say you're Columbus Academy and you're hosting. I don't even know if they have a field at Columbus Academy, but let's say they did. They would like for Columbus Academy to have the game at, like, Ohio Dominican or someplace like that. But I just think the schools aren't going to have the money to do that. I don't have a problem with them playing regional championship games on home field.
No, not this year. I mean, everything's changed this year, so just adapt with the times. And I know Massillon's playing North Canton Hoover this week, and Massillon will play there. What they should have hosted at Massillon. That's where they should have the state championships. So
yeah.
I mean, you just got to adapt to what's going on.
They might have different, and like I said, they still don't know where they're going to play the state title games, and I would guess they're going to play the state title games in multiple locations, which,
fine.
That's fine. Yeah.
Right at the school.
Yeah, I think that's fine. So I'll be covering a playoff game this weekend.
Really?
Versailles and somebody. I'm not sure
how
who
many
Versailles.
jobs do you have now?
Not enough. Not enough. I'll catch that after a soccer game Saturday afternoon.
How? Before we get to the Buckeyes, how was your first week as doing radio that's not sports 100% of the time?
A lot of people ask me that, and I'm still trying to figure out what the show is. Like, I know what I don't want it to be. I don't want it to be a gripe session, a fault-finding show all the time with this is happening in politics and this stinks, and
even though that's what seems to sell.
Right now, I just don't. That doesn't.
There's too many of those.
There's too many. It's not that I'm trying to be an outlier. It's just that I hope I'm capable of more.
Mm-hmm.
I think God's put it on my heart to be more than that. It was interesting the other day. I tried to turn the focus away from the Hunter Biden emails and stuff like that. And I don't think the journalism field has not acquitted itself well in this scenario. So there's ample opportunity to complain. And I just paused from that and I said, no, I just want to open the phone lines and I want you to tell me something good in your life. I said, we all tend to focus on the negative. I said, just call me and tell me something good. And I said to my producer, I want you to tell me something good. I got no calls. Now, I get calls, a lot of calls, so I know people are listening. People go, nobody's listening. No, there are people listening. I get calls. Nobody could call with something good, and my producer struggled to come up with something good. And that's a mindset. That's a mindset, that you need to get into, because I remember when I started to get engaged in leadership training, and Matt, who you've met out and about one night while you were having dinner, Matt introduced himself to you. Matt asked that question a lot. Matt will start a conversation with a stranger that way. Hey, tell me what's good in your life. Tell me something good. And it's interesting to watch people, when you ask them that question, they kind of are like, they're thrown by it. Because we just don't tend to think about that. We tend to focus on the things that are not good, that we'd like to have fixed or like to have, improve.
You think that's a natural feeling that people have?
Well, it's my natural bent. I know that. I have to battle that. Some of that's the field that I chose because, as I said before, it's a field where you write about the plane that crashes, not the one that lands.
Yeah.
So I have to fight that. I don't know what the show will be yet on 98.9 from 5 to 7 every night, but I know what I don't want it to be. Like, it looks like, I'd say right now, 60-40 Biden-Trump in terms of their likely election. If Joe Biden gets elected, that's not my personal wish. It's not my personal wish because of his policies. I don't want the next whatever years I have on that show to be going in every day and griping about what the government's doing and what Joe Biden's doing. I just don't think that's productive. There are plenty of shows like that. Mm-hmm. And I could do a show like that.
Oh, yeah.
But it wouldn't be conducive to me being the kind of person I want to be.
I was thinking about that, and if you're constantly doing that, and I look at, and on both sides, right? Mm-hmm. And I follow people on Twitter that are like that. Your radio station has guests or shows like that lead up to your show.
Yeah.
Right? That's got to get exhausting after a while. And I kind of look at it like forgiveness or carrying anger or carrying burden or carrying a grudge. I've done that in my life for a period of time, where I carried some disappointment in somebody, anger in somebody, and frustration in somebody. And until I was able to let that go, did I finally feel better about everything around me. And that's what I don't understand. And I think, I'm not the political talk show host that you are, or the skilled that you are, but I do think that until we as a country on both sides let some of that bitterness go, it's going to be hard to move forward.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah.
And I like where somebody told me, and I use it for everybody all the time, let's try to be encouragers more than we are discouragers.
Yeah. That's what I'm trying to find I'm trying to find a sweet spot between, I don't want it to be a show that complains, and I don't want it to be a show that lacks gravity and impact. I mean, I discussed an opportunity one time for a general interest talk show where the syndicated hosts leading up to that local show that I was trying to do were, pound on what's wrong in the country and what's wrong with the policies and all that kind of stuff. And it was the opinion of the people I was interviewing with that the local show needed to just be, because up to it was all, pounding on people and pounding on the system and pounding on the government, the show, when it turned local, needed to be like fluff and not much substance, just messing around, just having fun.
Right.
I can't do that kind of show.
No, you're not a fun person. No, you're not. I mean,
I just think that.
you can.
Well,
you're funny sometimes.
I feel like I have an ability to, I think, analyze things, and I'm intrigued by shows that enlarge my understanding. So what I'd like to do is do a show of some sort that is useful mentally to people, makes them think, broadens their understanding of things. But I'm in this area where I'm working for a company that is Christian owned. We have an AM station where the host of the AM local show, Bob Burney, has been in the market for a long time. Bob's a pastor. The AM station runs messages throughout the day from famous pastors, Charles Stanley, Chuck Swindoll, stuff like that. I don't feel like it's my lane to do a Bible-based show, because Bob does that.
Right.
Bob does that. That's Bob's lane. That's that
Is
station's
he on the
lane.
same time as
He's on 3:30 to 6, and I'm
Right.
on 5 to 7. So that's Bob's lane, and we have an outlet for that kind of a show. So I need to find that mix of when can I relate it to my faith, because my faith's the prism through which I view everything. But I don't want to, because a lot of people who listen to the station are listening for news talk. They're not listening for the faith talk like you and I do at the end of the podcast.
Or they're not looking for sports.
Yeah, right. But they want to have a little bit of awareness. I can talk some sports, like we're the home of the Browns.
Yeah.
So I can talk a little of that. I can talk Buckeyes are news in Columbus, whether.
But we're not sitting there saying they need to play more man.
No, I'm not going to
coverage,
go
right?
into gee, I wonder how the safeties will play.
And Kareem's so good out of the back.
Right.
I just want to hit this with you because
maybe the listeners have suggestions. Email the show, Spielman Hooley Podcast at gmail.com.
I was thinking about this and you, and how can you be effective yet not compromising what we know is truth and what we stand for. And the big issue now with Amy Coney Barrett, right, the whole pro-life issue, Roe v. Wade, I'm sure you've talked about that on your show. Yeah. Probably not. I don't know if you have.
I've talked about it a fair amount.
So obviously, you and I are both very much pro-life.
Mm-hmm.
Very much pro-life. I mean, I'm a one-issue voter, and I think you're a one-issue voter. That's what I choose to be. And that being said, the last thing I ever want to do is demonize people that that have an abortion. and here's what I mean. There's I think a misnomer out there that abortion is used as birth control, and it's not. Overall.
I don't know about that. I don't know if I agree with you on that.
Okay.
I think it is sometimes.
All right. Well, but I guess my point is, but there's also the cases out there where it's agonizing for somebody.
Yeah, of course.
And the repercussions or maybe guilt that they have after, and my heart goes out to them. I don't look at them and want to, yeah, you deserve what you get type thing. You know, I look at them with such sorrow and want to help them. And so that, I mean, I'm hoping you're going in that direction where there's empathy and God's grace.
Yes, absolutely.
And that's just. And the other thing is, like, I had a friend that recently came out to me, and he came out as gay to me, and he was afraid. He never told me because he was afraid that how I was going to react, because he knows what I believe. And I think my response to him was, it doesn't, look, you know where I stand. I love you, though. You're my friend. If you call me and say, Chris, I need you to do this for me, I need you to do that for me, let me ask you this question. Do you think for 1 second that I wouldn't drop what I was doing and come to your aid? And he said, I know you would. And so it doesn't mean I'm, going to promote that, but I'm not going to sit in judgment on him. I'm going to love him without compromising what I believe, but it doesn't change how I look at him. It doesn't change of what kind of friend I will be to him and have been to him, even, so.
And it doesn't change how God loves him.
Yeah, exactly.
It doesn't change that either.
So that's my whole thing, is that I want, and I think what is missing, and you can do this, and it would be such a unique show if you don't compromise your standards, if you stand for truth, but you do it with compassion and empathy and love. Even though somebody else might be attacking you, your best response is to kill them with kindness and love. Then I think that's kind of a unique show. I don't know. I was just thinking about it and how I would handle it, and how I've totally changed over the last 3 or 4 years, because I couldn't do what you do now, because I would get so angry and frustrated.
Well, I battle it. I have to watch it. I mean, I pray about it before airtime every day.
I just think it's interesting, and I keep thinking about you. I've listened a couple times. I haven't had the ability to listen. If only I had something that I could carry around.
If only you had like a device in your pocket that you could get
that I could turn and I can get the answer.
Somebody should invent that.
So anyway, I hope you're doing well with it, and I hope you're enjoying the challenge.
It's a challenge, and I haven't figured out yet what it needs to be, but I know what I don't want it to be.
Okay.
So maybe that'll help me get there. All right. So Buckeyes, Nebraska, Saturday noon. Yahoo! Ohio State finally gets to join the college football party. 1,600 people in the stadium. 600 for Ohio State, parents, people like that, and Nebraska gets 400. No band, no cheerleaders, no Brutus. It'll be unusual, be unique. I don't understand why that's the case with a big old building like that. It seems silly to me that they can't put 10,000 people in there. It seems silly to me that in that gigantic press box they can only put 30 people. So, we've been through our view of COVID before, but that's what it is, and that's what they'll operate with, and it's throughout the Big Ten.
Well, I think it's uniform through the Big Ten.
Yeah.
That's the main reason for doing it, as opposed to going state, like the NFL goes state by state. In fact, I'm doing a Saints game, and there was talk that the Saints in the city of New Orleans are fighting a little bit and kind of getting in a little Twitter battle because the Saints want fans there, and the mayor of New Orleans is not safe.
Yeah.
But apparently it'd be safe in Baton Rouge. So,
right.
That I think that's the most frustrating thing for me, is the hypocrisy and the real reasons why you're basing it on. And the Saints have their experts that say it's safe, and the city of New Orleans has their experts who say it's not safe. And we've gone back and forth with this. All I know is this: and I'm a little bitter at this morning. There's the loss of small businesses and the impact. That's why we did COVID relief.
Yeah.
You and I have done this all the way up until I think January. We're going to do it until we hit our mark. It just, they are unwilling to compromise just a little bit until after. I think until after the election.
I do too. I don't know.
It's just so frustrating because people. I'm sorry to cut you off, but I'm just so frustrated because there's people that rely, that are a customer-based business where whatever services they provide, you can't get over the internet, you can't order it, and they just destroy them.
Yeah, and it's people who've devoted years to building an enterprise, and then I also have and I know you do too. I mean, I feel for these kids in Columbus City school kids. They're not going to be in class until January 15th.
If then.
So it's.
I mean, it's and look, I think we've learned a lot, but you have to start moving forward, and we're getting to the point of what are you trying to prove now? I mean, what is your end game here? And that's what I was thinking about. The whole New Orleans thing was so infuriating because it's a dichotomy. Not a dichotomy, excuse me. It's a representative of what's going on in the nation where, hey, we can play in Baton Rouge in front of 25,000 people. Apparently COVID doesn't happen there, but in a Superdome, can't have anything here.
No.
It's unsafe. People will die if you come in here and play football. But I just, it has nothing to do with truth. It has nothing to do with working together to come to a solution. It's like two rams butting heads and showing off for the female over there.
Yeah.
It's stupid. This is so dumb that we're even arguing about this.
Yeah, I don't know how we progress after November 3rd. I just hope we do. Adrian Martinez will start at quarterback for Nebraska. That's not a surprise. He's been their starter for 2 years, but they kept saying Luke McCaffrey, redshirt freshman, was right there with him. Frost said yesterday they have 2 starters, which when you have 2, you don't have 1.
Exactly.
What's possible for Nebraska football in this era? It used to be possible they got a ton of walk-ons, and they were a really good program for a really long time. Has something changed that Nebraska can't be Nebraska anymore? Because I think Frost knows what he's doing. He's a good coach. He's great at Central Florida.
They had a little niche, and Osborne had a little pipeline going from getting some kids from Jersey and like Rozier, or getting them from Irving Fryer. And I just, they're not getting the guys that you need to get to win on a consistent basis. Just not. And like Adrian Martinez had a tremendous freshman year.
He did.
And just fell off the map last year. Didn't play very well. I don't know what's possible for Nebraska. I think what's possible for Nebraska is what is possible for Wisconsin, what's possible for Michigan State, where you're going to be good some of the time. I think the ceiling for Nebraska is, and I still think Scott Frost is the right guy, is that you're competing every 2 or 3 years. I think the program now that has it going and is elevating, I think when he leaves, if he does leave, it'll go back down. It's Minnesota and PJ Fleck. And we say row your boat, all that stuff. You know what? Dude can coach.
He gets them to believe.
And he's a very good coach. And so
better watch yourself, Michigan. That's not a W automatically for Michigan and Minnesota.
That's kind of the. I almost wish that the Michigan-Minnesota game that Gus and Joel were doing, that game as opposed to Ohio State-Nebraska. But we'll see. Look, Ohio State is clearly, everywhere I go, and these NFL guys, and I run into some personnel guys, and not as much as I used to because of social distancing, but Ohio State has so many players. I was talking to a guy that when they come here, they schedule an extra day to watch film because they have so many guys, and they ask me the names of them. Who's this guy? I don't know.
Right.
I have no idea who it is.
Right. Well,
I'm sure
now,
he'll be pretty good.
You know, they're coming in there and they're looking. Their heads are turned by freshmen.
It's just
their heads are just turned by freshmen. They've done a phenomenal job recruiting. Ryan Day, fantastic hire by Urban Meyer to bring him in. And I mean, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, none of us had Ryan Day on our radar. Urban for Ohio State. Did you? You liked him at BC.
Yes.
Yeah, but I mean, he ends up here, and Ryan's a guy who understands opportunity, understands resources. Ohio State has all those that a coach could ever want. You and I both believe he'll eventually be in the NFL, but he has, I'm sure, goals for here, and one of them is to win the national title, and he's got a team capable of doing it.
He does. There's 3 teams. I haven't watched a ton of college football. I've watched a fair amount. There's 3 teams that are. It's Alabama, Clemson, and Ohio State. Would you agree with that?
I would.
Like, I'm watching this Alabama team. These receivers, they have that Waddle kid, the returner.
Devontae Smith is unreal.
I mean,
and last year, I think they had those 2 guys with Ruggs and
I know.
What was the other
they couldn't even get. I don't know. They couldn't even get on the field.
4 first-rounders. That's crazy. And their quarterback's good. Mac Jones is really good.
It's really good.
Yeah.
And
by the way, their running backs are really good. But their defense is suspect.
That's the thing that's a little disappointing from Alabama. Georgia has talent. They really do. They just don't have, if they have Justin Fields, then
they're special.
I get, I just think, it's tough to play with a walk-on quarterback.
Yep.
Clemson's off the charts talent-wise.
Boy, they are good.
He's done such a great job of recruiting and what he's been able to accomplish. Then you have Ohio State. Then you have, in my opinion, everybody else. That doesn't mean that another team can knock off Clemson, Alabama, or Ohio State. What it does say is the superiority of the talent level and the great job of recruiting that Nick Saban and Dabo and Ryan do. If they were NFL teams, like every year they would be in the Final Four for the playoffs, those teams. Because, you can lose maybe 2 games or 3 games. Doesn't matter. The NFL, you still have a chance. The best is always going to be there in the end, even if they drop 2 or 3. And I was talking to Sports Time Ohio when I was on Sport. Did I mention I was on Sports Time Ohio with Bruce Drennan? A real professional.
A very big professional. Yes.
And he said there's no room for error, right? And there's no room for error if there's a COVID outbreak. And statistically, we're probably going to see a COVID outbreak in the Big Ten.
I would think. That's the thing. My question with Ohio State is, Ryan Day talked yesterday about how he tells the guys, this is a sad way to live. And I'm not criticizing. I'm just saying it's a sad way to live. That everywhere you go, he said, a trip to the grocery store is selfish. Going to a movie is selfish. I don't even know if you can go to a movie, but going out is selfish. Like, you live in a bubble, stay in that bubble, because if you don't live in the bubble, somebody could infect you, and then you could infect your team. And I get it. I understand it. It's just that I'm just saying, 2 things can be true at once. I get it, and it's a sad way to live.
It is a sad way to live, but you know what? You're asking to, because of the nature and the ramifications. It's not like if you and I get COVID, okay, we sit home for 2 weeks and fine, or a week or 10 days. For them, though, you got all these people counting on you, so you're asked to sacrifice and not put yourself at any risk for the greater good of the team, right? You don't want to be the guy that decided to go out to a party, got COVID, sit in a meeting room, spread it to these certain guys. You just don't want to be that guy, right?
No.
And so I don't think it is crazy, but it's a sacrifice that has to be made if you want to get your goal. And that's just the way it is. That's what NFL teams are trying to get done. And they're spending a boatload of money. Most of the players that I've talked to have all embraced this. Now, the interesting thing is, once everybody's out of the playoff hunt, are you going to still have people be as vigilant as they are? And so far, we're coming up on a halfway point. The NFL's been able to get all their games in.
Yeah.
I'm just worried about the Big Ten because there's no
wiggle room,
right?
No wiggle room at all. found out yesterday that the open enrollment period for health insurance extends to the end of the year. I thought it was just a week or two. So you have plenty of time to get a hold of Chrissy and the AUI team. Let them help you decide which health insurance policy is best for you. They're health insurance brokers in Akron, licensed to service any individual or business in the state of Ohio. AUIinfo.com is the website. AUIinfo.com. AUIinfo.com. They'll answer all your questions you might not know, but if you're trying, if you have it on your list to investigate health insurance at healthcare.gov, you're already paying for a consultant. It's built into the cost of the policy. That's why you don't pay AUI. The companies they put you with do, and they can put you with anybody. So just remember that name and avail yourself of their expertise, because, hey, why not go into it with eyes wide open rather than eyes half closed? AUIinfo.com.
Can I ask you a question? And then before we get into the fake segment, have you noticed, like, when there's these COVID testing, I felt like the Panthers had a COVID positive, right? And that this is third week in a row for me.
A team you're doing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. And people are upset that people aren't upset. Like your writer friends. You're not taking it seriously.
I know, yeah, they do get upset. I made a comment yesterday. I'm just trying to make a factual statement. And I will apply this to both sides of the aisle. President Trump is wrong when he says we saved 2 million deaths. He might be right, but he doesn't know that. And the people who say, if you would have done this, you would have saved X number of lives. Savannah Guthrie made that comment in the town hall. Well, if you'd wear a mask, 80%. You don't know that either. The only way you can know, and that's why we don't have a vaccine yet, is because they do what's called a double-blind random sample. Does this work? So one group of people gets the vaccine, and one group of people doesn't, and neither one knows that they didn't get it or that they got it.
Right.
So they can't be prejudiced in any way. The only way to know if masks work is to do a double-blind random sample. And you can't possibly do that because you can't take an entire city of people and introduce the exact same variables with each group. So it's all theory. So when Governor DeWine said yesterday, if 85 to 95% of you would wear a mask, we'd knock this thing down immediately. I would argue everywhere I go, 85 to 95% of people are wearing masks, and we haven't knocked it down.
Yeah.
So it's a virus. It's in the air. It probably penetrates your mask. Some people who wear masks get it. Some people who don't wear masks don't get it. So it's like, you don't know. You're theorizing, and you're welcome to theorize, but just remember it's a theory. It's not proven. I don't even know what you asked me that I went off on that rant. I'm sorry if I went off topic.
I'm glad you did, because everywhere I go, and myself included, when required, where required, when around people, I've not seen any place in the city of Columbus that I've been to that doesn't practice that policy.
Everybody requires it, and I comply, and yet if you read my Twitter, people will be like, you don't wear your mask. No, I tweet that I don't think it's as bulletproof a precaution as you all think it is, but that doesn't mean I don't wear it.
Right.
I wear it in the hallway at work because they ask me to wear it in the hallway at work. If I'm in my studio, I don't have to wear it, and so I don't.
Here's the thing. I wanted to do this thing called defend the triangle. It's a defensive back technique.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to do a demonstration in the booth. And I would said, okay, well, I'd have to do it through the plexiglass, and I'd have to have a mask on to do it.
Because you'd have to get close to Kevin.
That's the rule.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter, has no bearing whatsoever that we've both been tested numerous times. Mm-hmm. Both tested negative. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You'll have to wear the mask. And we'd like to do it, Chris, but we feel that in order to set a good example, you'd have to wear the mask, and you'd have to do it through the plexiglass. And I said, okay, fine, we won't do it. They said, good, okay. And that's the things that drive me insane. That is the things that drive me insane. And the different mindsets. And I'm not saying one's right or one's wrong. We have meetings. Some people aren't comfortable coming to the meeting in the hotel. Okay, they don't want to be in the same room with other people. They do a Zoom from their hotel room, and if that's,
I know what you're going to say, with a mask on, right?
No,
because I saw a guy today on the Ryan Day call asking a question from a remote location wearing his mask, and I'm just like, what are you afraid of, dude? You're alone.
But here's what I've come to have peace with, right? I don't want to get. If that makes people feel comfortable,
it's fine.
Then I want them to be comfortable.
Yeah.
I'd rather have them be comfortable. And here's my understanding of my growth as a human being is that I'm not going to judge that. That's what, if you feel comfortable doing that, I'll support you in you doing that. And I don't agree with it, but it doesn't matter. You're not telling me what to do, and I'm not going to tell you what to do. And if you're still able to perform your duties, and that makes you feel comfortable, go for it. Mm-hmm. I can't judge it. I don't want to judge it anymore. I'm done. I'm sick of it. I'm just sick of this whole thing. I'm sick of leaders leading with fear.
So I was thinking about all this today as we transition into the faith portion. I got all this stuff going on. I'm trying not to be disagreeable. I'm trying to remember the verse from the Apostle Paul as much as is possible. Live at peace with other people. So I'm trying to do that.
That's your mantra this year.
It's because I haven't done a good job of it very often. I haven't even made an effort to live at peace with other people. I've made an effort to be divisive.
Combative, yeah.
Confrontation. So I have several friends of mine who are really going through some difficult circumstances right now, related to their family, related to people they love. And I have a friend who is grieving the loss of a daughter, and it's really hitting him hard, and his wife hard. Mm-hmm. And I just woke up today, and I'm trying to do a good job professionally with this show. I view this show as a gift from God and an opportunity to be light in a dark culture. And I just was like feeling one of those days where I was like, Lord, I don't have a clear idea in my mind what you want me to do. I have all these things going on that are troubling me because people that I care about have really, really tough circumstances going on in their life. So I was really trying to connect in prayer this morning, and I'm glad that I did. I couldn't sleep last night. I was awake, and for some reason, I was thinking about people at my church and how grateful I am for my church, and all of a sudden into my mind popped the awareness of our sister church in Washington, D.C. And it's an inner city church led by a remarkable pastor named Stephen. And Stephen, I believe, at one point in his life struggled with addiction. But man, is he an amazing, amazing speaker and super on fire for the Lord. And the name of their church struck me. The name of their church is About My Father's Business. AMFB. About My Father's Business. Which is an unusual name for a church. I've never heard of another church named that. And that just struck me that is what I need to be about. In everything I do, I need to remind myself to be about my Father's business. That's the prism through which I need to view everything. Is this about the business of my Father? Mm-hmm. Is this about the Lord Jesus Christ's business? Is this something that's furthering what He wants me to further? And that was helpful to me. And so I hope it's helpful to someone listening.
Okay. First of all, I think one of the things that I've noticed, and it kind of just hit me, ever since we've been doing this podcast 3 days a week, we're sitting here publicly declaring and talking about our faith. Mm-hmm. And how much better I've become because of this podcast. So we think we're hopefully doing a service for others. We're actually doing a service for each other. Mm-hmm. Because when you sit here and publicly acknowledge your failures and your successes, right? I think we both do both.
Yeah.
I mean, we sit here and say, okay, Bruce, you've improved in this area, and I'm so proud of you. And you're a much nicer person to be around. You're a much I get to experience what the type of person that your wife gets to experience ever since we started this show, where there's a lot of peace about you now, which there never was, which is so cool, right? I think it is, and I know how I feel. Now, there's other steps that I've taken. Like I've told you, I've removed myself from shows like yours. And
yeah, no, I mean that's understandable.
No, I just because I did not like what was being stirred up inside of me. That's why I could never get into politics, because nobody listens to each other, and I don't want to live like that. And I told my wife, because we used to watch all the shows together and we have discussions. We still have discussions, because I am very aware of all the issues around me. I just don't sit there and study them and focus on. I'm very aware of them. I know, and what's given me peace is that I know what I believe, and as we come upon election, my mind isn't going to be changed. It's never going to be changed. It doesn't matter what somebody tells me. My mind isn't going to be changed. So I don't need to educate myself anymore. I'm aware of what issues and what policies that I deem for me, what I think is best for the country. So since I already know, I'm not going to surround myself with constant frustration.
Yeah.
And that's why I admire you, because and almost like, I almost look at you and say, I'm glad I don't do a show like that.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't think I can be as calming and as good as you are doing it, the times that I have listened. And the thought struck me is that God has put you in a position where if it were up to Bruce, you probably would last maybe 6 months here before you said something or done something. But God has put you in a position of challenge, in a position where you have to rely on God to be able to do a good job. Because if you relied on Bruce and just your own self, there would be a point where you would say something so off the wall, so mean, even if it might even be warranted or justified, but it wouldn't be Christian-like, or it wouldn't be professional in how you respond.
Yeah.
And so I think it's just really cool to watch. And the other thing is, I want to talk real quick about the importance of confession. Now it says, if we confess our sin, God is right and just, and
Faithful and just to forgive us, cleanse us.
Forgive us sins and cleanse us. But there's other parts to that too. So one is, blessed is he whose transgression is forgiven, whose sin is covered, which is so cool. And take heart in that today, and don't get discouraged. But be sincere when you're in your confession. In Catholicism, there's a formal way to do that. I'm not saying right or wrong, I'm just saying there's a formal way to do that. But more than that, blessed are those who hear the word of God and keep it. So just do your best to keep it. And I'm so proud of you, of how you have taken that to heart. And it's so cool to be around you now, because I don't do this anymore as much, but I used to antagonize you to see where I could, and I felt bad about that, because you were an easy mark. I mean,
yeah. Well, I'm far from a finished product.
No, but it's just fun to see. But acknowledge that. I wanted to say, do you have more peace in your heart, do you think?
I do, but I came home last night and was not pleased with the show, just because I like to have a clear direction. I like to know what I'm trying to accomplish and then strive toward that. And I still don't feel like I have as I said earlier in the podcast, I know what I don't want the show to be. I don't know yet what it should be, and that's frustrating to me. And I wonder, feel like every segment on the air, if I'm not pushing toward a specific purpose, I'm wasting that opportunity. And I got a very nice email from a listener last night, but most gratifying to me was my wife hugged me and she said, "You're where God wants you, and give him time to show you what else he wants of you."
Yeah.
And she's like, there are a lot of things about this opportunity that don't make sense, but it's so great to be married to someone as you are as well, who believes in you and who doesn't question the things that don't make sense, but trusts God to make sense of them.
What a stress reliever that is.
Yeah.
In your marriage.
Yeah. So I know I have her support, and that's great. It gives me peace to go back in there and do
awesome.
it again.
No, it's awesome.
Yeah.
And it's not easy what you're doing, but I appreciate you.
Well, thanks. And it's great to be able to do this and to be transparent with everybody, and hopefully to help people through similar struggles. So.
And have you told people on the answer that you're a 2-time state champion?
I haven't dropped that yet. Maybe I'll just wear my Letterman jacket in there today.
By the way, West Liberty Salem got their rear ends handed to them in the playoff. Yes.
Is it? That doesn't break my heart. I was never a big football fan at West Liberty Salem. Too much of a rivalry with the fellas. That's okay.
You and the cross country team?
Oh, yeah. No, they were winning their little league championship. We were winning our state championship. See, I've told you I'm not a finished product.
2 of them, by the way.
2 of them. That's right. That's right. Hey, we forgot to shout out our friends at Willis Spangler Starling, but you know them, willisattorneys.com. Great firm, great people. That's more important. Deal with people of integrity. Willis Spangler Starling has it, and you will do well to have them represent you, whatever your legal needs are. Everybody have a great day, great weekend, and I'll talk to you again on Friday here on the Spielman and Hooley We Tackle Life podcast. Get those nominations in for COVID-19 relief. Do something nice for somebody. Spielman and Hooley podcast at gmail.com. Let me kill the video feed.